Morning, friends. See, in previous classes, we have deal with the introduction part of D block elements. So today, I am going to deal with main topics of transition elements. And the first concept is what are transition elements? What are transition elements? See, in previous classes, we know the block diagram of entire periodic table. Block diagram of entire periodic table. If you look at entire periodic table, S block elements are placed at the extreme left side of the table. Extreme left side of the table. Coming to P block elements, they are placed at the extreme right side of the periodic table. Coming to D block elements, they have placed at the center of the periodic table. And finally, F block elements are placed at the bottom of the periodic table. Now our concern is what are transition elements? Our concern is what are transition elements? So those elements in which differentiating electron enters into D subshell are called D block elements. Those elements in which differentiating electron enters into D subshell are called D block elements. Here, a new word, that is differentiating electron. Let us come to know the meaning of this word, differentiating electron. Then only we can understand the total sentence. Differentiating electron means the last electron entering. The last electron which is entering into the subshell, that is called differentiating electron. So those elements in which differentiating electron, that means last electron enters into D subshell, are called D block elements. In periodic table, D block elements are placed in between S and P block elements. Just now I have told you about the placement of block elements. Placement of block elements S, P, D and F. Just now I have told you D block elements are placed at the center of the block diagram. That and all we know. So the elements of 3rd B to 7th B, 8th, 1B and 2B groups are D block elements. If you look at it, the periodic table, 3rd B to 7th B, 8th group, 1st B and 2nd B groups are generally known as D block elements. These elements are also called transition elements. These elements, that means from 3rd B to 7th B and 8th group. In 8th group, there are 3 groups, 8th A, 8th B and 8th C, and 1st B and 2nd B. All these groups are called D block elements. They are also known as transition elements. Why we are naming D block elements as transition elements? Why we are naming as transition elements? Let us come to know the reason. Both, I mean, D block elements are act as a bridge between S block and P block. S block and P block. See, if you look at the block diagram of entire periodic table, we can understand D block elements act as a bridge between S block and P block. Their electronic configuration is n minus 1 into D 1 to 10 and ns2. So that is the general electronic configuration of transition elements. Again I am telling why D block elements are called as transition elements, because the only reason is D block elements are act as a bridge between S block and P block. That is the only reason why D block elements are known as transition elements. Coming to first transition series in D block element, that is 3D series. The elements in the 3D series, namely scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and zinc. These 10 elements comes under the category of first transition series. See, there are 3 transition series in the D block elements, namely 3D series, that is also known as first transition series. Second one, 4D series, that is also known as second transition series, and 5D series, that is also known as third transition series. So in the first transition series, the names of first transition series, namely scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and zinc, and their atomic numbers: scandium atomic number 21, titanium 22, vanadium 23, chromium 24, manganese 25, iron 26, cobalt 27, nickel 28, copper 29, zinc 30. So name of the element at the extreme left side on the table and their atomic numbers respectively are shown in the middle of the table. At the extreme right side, here these are known as electronic configuration of the elements. See, if you take scandium element, atomic number is 21 and the electronic configuration of scandium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and 3d1. Coming to titanium, atomic number is 22. Configuration, that means electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d2. So see, you have one doubt generally. What is that doubt? What is atomic number? What is atomic number? Here in previous classes, that and all we know. In previous classes, what is atomic number, what is atomic mass, what is atomic number, atomic mass, atomic mass unit, all these things. Coming to, again I am discussing what about atomic number. Atomic number is nothing but total number of electrons present in the atom. Atomic number is generally equal to total number of electrons present in the element. That is nothing but atomic number. So scandium 21 means there are 21 electrons in scandium element. There are 21 electrons present in the scandium. Coming to titanium atomic number is 22. What does it mean? What does it mean? That means there are 22 electrons present in that titanium element, as well as vanadium. Vanadium, how many electrons are there? 23. So that is why the atomic number of vanadium is 23. So the name of the elements as shown in the table and their respective electronic configurations are shown at the extreme right side. Now, another topic, that is electronic configuration of chromium and copper. Electronic configuration of chromium and copper. See, if you look at this table and their electronic configurations, there are two anomalous electronic configurations. There are two anomalous electronic configurations. What are they? Chromium electronic configuration and copper electronic configuration. Generally, according to Hund's rule, Aufbau rule, Pauli's exclusion principle. So filling up of orbitals with the electrons, we should follow these three rules. That and all we know. But the configuration of chromium and copper does not follow the rules. And which is not very important topic to discuss. Even though I'm telling simple reasons of it. Why chromium copper electronic configurations are abnormal. See, in intermediate first year, we came to know the reason of why chromium and copper having abnormal electronic configuration. As a human being, we ignore all these things. But we should recall again what is the reason of the abnormal configuration of chromium and copper. See, every element, every atom, or every human being trying to stabilize themselves in this universe. So, in the same way, chromium and copper also trying to stabilize themselves by adjusting their electronic configuration as 4s1 3d5 and copper 4s1 3d10. Actually, here 4s2 3d4, here 4s2 3d9, but their electronic configuration adjusted to 4s1 3d5 for chromium and 4s1 3d10 for copper. Why they are adjusting they are adjusting their electronic configuration like this, like this. The reason is symmetry and exchange energy. These two reasons are why these two reasons are very important, for giving good reasons for chromium electronic configuration and copper electronic configuration. Chromium electronic configuration and copper electronic configuration. See, if you follow Hund's rule, Bohr rule, and Pauli's exclusion principle, the electronic configuration of chromium becomes 4s2 3d4. 4s2 3d4. While writing 4s2 3d4 by drawing orbitals, we can show, or we can see there is one empty site, or we can see one empty vacancy in 3D sublevel for chromium. In the same way, if you look at the outer electronic configuration of copper, according to Hund's rule, Bohr rule, and Pauli's exclusion principle, the outer electronic configuration of copper becomes 4s2 3d9. 4s2 3d9. If you follow these three rules, then we can see there is one empty site or one vacancy in the 3D sublevel. So according to symmetry and exchange energy principles or phenomena, every element or atom having exchange energy and symmetry, they are stable. According to symmetry rule and exchange energy. So if you take these two rules, then chromium and copper becomes unstable at the room temperature and pressure. But we are we are seeing chromium and copper at the room temperature and pressure. So our assumption, according to Hund's rule, Bohr rule, and Pauli's exclusion principle, the configuration is not like 4s2 3d9 or 4s2 3d4. There is some change, or there must be some change. Then only chromium and copper are stable at room temperature and pressure. So after some conclusions, scientists have made a conclusion that chromium and copper have adjusting their outer electronic configurations into 4s1 3d5 for chromium and 4s1 3d10 for copper. So chromium and copper exhibit anomalous electronic configuration due to following reasons. So in case of half-filled subshells, there is a maximum number of unpaired electrons in different orbitals. So in such cases, the interelectronic repulsions are minimum, and there is a maximum possibility of exchange or delocalization of electrons, which further decreases the energy and increases the stability. In case of completely filled subshell, all spins are paired up. This minimizes the energy of the system and increases the stability. So that is the reason why chromium and copper having anomalous electronic configuration. Coming to another topic, that is oxidation states. D block elements shows more than one oxidation states due to using both Ns and N-1d electrons in the compound formation. So if you take non-D block elements, all metals showing only single oxygen state, single oxygen state. But whereas in d block elements, all metals, almost all metals showing showing two or more than two oxygen states, two or more than two oxygen states. The reason is these elements using both Ns and N-1d electrons in the compound formation. The lowest oxygen state is exhibited by using s electrons in the outermost orbit, and the maximum oxygen state is given by the sum of the outer s electrons and unpaired d electrons. See, the lowest oxygen state exhibited by 3D series is due to using s electrons only, using s electrons only in the outermost shell. Whereas the maximum oxygen state is given by the d block elements, is due to using both s electrons, I mean outermost s electrons and d sublevel. The maximum oxygen state in the first series is +7 exhibited by manganese, +7 exhibited by manganese. In second and third transition series, the maximum oxygen state is +8 in ruthenium and osmium in their oxides. In second and third transition series, in the beginning of this chapter, I have told you that there are three transition series in d block elements: first, second, and third. First transition series is also known as 3D series. Second transition series is also known as 4D series. Third transition series is also known as 5D series. So, in a series, the oxygen state increases up to nearly middle element and then decreases. If you look at this table and this table and this table, we came to one conclusion. That is, in a series, if you take this series or third series, if you take any one, then oxidation states increases up to nearly middle element. See, this is the starting element and manganese is middle of the series. So if you come from here to here, see, oxygen states are gradually increasing. Oxygen states are gradually increasing. So that is I am telling, in a series, the oxygen states increases up to nearly middle element and then decreases. See, if you coming from this scandium to manganese, so oxygen states here 2, here 3, here 4, 5, sorry 6, here up to 7 oxygen states are there. 7 oxygen states are there. So gradually oxygen state is increasing. Now here to here, oxygen state is gradually decreasing. Oxygen state is gradually decreasing. +7, +6, +5, +4, +3, finally +2. So that is what I am telling. In a series, the oxygen states increases up to nearly middle element and then decreases. The most stable oxygen state in all the elements is +2. In all the elements, most stable oxygen state is +2. If you look at third series, the phenomenon is same. If you come from starting to middle, oxygen state is gradually increasing, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this one is 8, not 3, 7. This one is 8, make a correction there. This one is 8, make a correction there. And again, if you go from here to here, I mean osmium to mercury, again, oxygen state is gradually decreasing. Plus 782 plus 7, sorry, plus 82 plus 82 plus 2. Next, coming to another topic, that is color of the d block elements. Color of the d block elements. D block metal ions are colored due to the presence of unpaired d electrons. In the previous classes, we know this thing also. Generally, if any element or ion exhibiting color, then there should be unpaired electron. There should be unpaired electron. So that is what I am telling. D block metal ions are colored due to the presence of unpaired d electrons. These electrons absorb visible light and excited to one orbital to another orbital in the same d subshell. In the same d subshell. This is the reason for the color of d block metal ions. This is the reason for the color of d block elements. See, I am giving some examples which are exhibiting color through naked eye when they are in oxygen states. See, if you look at copper plus 2 ion, which is blue in color at room temperature and pressure, plus 2, copper plus 2, which is blue in color. Why it is exhibiting blue color? Because if you take copper plus 2 ion, it will contain one unpaired electron, due to which it exhibiting blue color. If you take Fe plus 2 ion, Fe plus 2, that means ferrous, it will exhibit pale green color. It will exhibit pale green color. Why it will? Why it exhibiting pale green color? Because it has unpaired electron, unpaired electrons. If you take Fe plus 3, it will exhibit yellow color to the naked eye because of unpaired electron. In the same way, chromium plus 3 exhibiting green color, manganese plus 2 pink color. If you take zinc plus 2, which is colorless, make a note there. Zinc plus 2, which is colorless. Why? All these 5 metal ions exhibiting color, because what is the reason? Containing, due to containing unpaired electrons. If you take zinc plus 2, which is colorless to the naked eye, why? Because it has no unpaired electron. Due to that reason, zinc plus 2 is colorless to the naked eye, or which is white in color. Coming to copper plus 2 ions are colored and paramagnetic. Copper plus 2 ions are colored and paramagnetic. Electronic configurations of copper plus 2 ion is 1:2, 2 pieces, 3:3 pieces, and finally 3:9. Copper plus 2 ion contains one unpaired electron or one unpaired d electron. So it is colored and paramagnetic. See, in earlier classes, we came to know the reason for exhibiting color and magnetic behavior. In those classes, or in previous classes, we came to know all the reasons. Just I am repeating that reason. That concept. If any element or ion containing unpaired electron, it will show color and magnetic behavior or magnetic properties. Coming to another topic, that is magnetic properties. Those substances which are weakly attracted by the magnetic field are called paramagnetic substances. This magnetic character arises due to presence of unpaired electrons. See, Those substances which are weakly attracted by the magnetic field, which are weakly attracted by the magnetic field, are called paramagnetic substances. If you take any element, if you take any element, if it is weakly attracted by the external magnetic field, then it is called paramagnetic substance. This magnetic character arises, okay? I mean, the reason for magnetic behavior or paramagnetic nature is due to the presence of unpaired electrons in the d sublevel. Unpaired electrons in the d sublevel. Most of the transition elements and their ions contains unpaired d electrons. Most of the, again I am repeating, most of the transition elements and their ions contains unpaired electrons or unpaired d electrons. So they are paramagnetic substances. The best examples are titanium plus 3, copper plus 2, scandium plus 2. Again, I am repeating, titanium plus 3, copper plus 2, scandium plus 2. Those substances which are repelled by the magnetic field are called diamagnetic substances. Those substances which are weakly repelled by or repelled by magnetic field are called diamagnetic substances. See, if you uh, put some substances into the external magnetic field, if if you observe a repulsion from external magnetic field, what does it mean? Definitely that substance, that substance, that means the substance we are entering, or we are just the substance which we entering the external magnetic field having no unpaired electrons in it, having no unpaired electrons in it. So those substances which are not having unpaired electrons, definitely those substances are repelled by external magnetic field. So those substances are called diamagnetic substances. What is that? Diamagnetic substance. So this magnetic character arises due to the presence of paired electrons. Paired electrons. Transition metal ions which contains paired electrons show diamagnetic behavior. Diamagnetic behavior. Now we should discuss another main topic, that is explain why titanium 3 ion in aqueous solution is violet in color, whereas manganese 2 plus ion is almost colorless, or we can say pale pink. What is that? Pale pink. The compounds of titanium 3 ion in aqueous solution becomes colored when the ions have incomplete d orbital. Incomplete d orbital. If you take the compounds of titanium 3 ion in aqueous solution form, what is that? Aqueous solution form. So now I'm taking, see, one example. 3D of titanium 3 ion is, now I am taking hexa aqua titanium 3 ion. Again I am repeating, hexa aqua titanium 3 ion shows DD transitions from T2G to EG, makes the color look violet. Hexa aqua titanium 3 ion compound show violet color, show violet color. So most manganese plus 2 complexes with weak ligands are octahedral, have high spin arrangement with 5 unpaired electrons. These complexes all have very pale colors. Whenever manganese with weak ligands, whenever manganese complexes with weak ligands, they will show pale colors, generally pale pink color. So what is the reason? What is the reason? This is because of DD transitions in high spin D5 complex requires not only the promotion of electron from T2G level to EG level, but also reversing of its spin. That is the reason why all manganese plus 2 complexes with weak ligands having pale colors. So pale colors, pale colors. So in high spin D5 complexes, DD transitions are spin forbidden and the compounds are pale colors, and the compounds are pale colors are almost colorless. Pale colors are almost colorless. Again, I'm repeating, in high spin D5 complexes, DD transition series DD transitions are spin forbidden and the compounds are pale colors are almost colorless. So there we have stopped the lesson. Uh, so we'll continue in the next class. We will continue in the next class.